video, I will be reviewing these pair of Beats Solo HDs while also debunking some controversies that I had in the past. This video will be all about the truth. So, let's begin. Beats today and Beats in the past are very different. In the past, Beats was liked by the average consumer for their striking and cool design, but not as much by audiophiles and audio enthusiasts, as to them they sound quote-unquote like crap. Some reviewers even went ahead and called them sounding like mud water. But today's Beats is none of that, thanks to the new Beats Solo Pros and Beats Power Beats Pros, which wiped the slate clean for Beats. All complaints were in the past, as they strike the market with awesome build qualities, good sounds, still not great, and a plethora of features at a competitive if not slightly expensive price. And so, to find the truth, I have to go all the way back to 2012 when these Solo HDs are one of the biggest reasons why Beats got so much hate. Let's start with the design. Like any Beats that have ever existed, the design of these are the very essence of cool. And I love them. I love how they look so simple yet so sophisticated. And they also stood the test of time pretty well. This was proven when I posted a picture of it on my Instagram story, and many thought that they were new Beats headphones. Well, until I told them that it's from 2012. They're quite shocked. As for the build quality, it is one of the controversies that these headphones had. But is it true that they're built like S-words? No, they're not. Granted, the all-plastic build does feel cheap when compared to my Master and Dynamic MH30s, which are fully aluminum. But it doesn't mean it's built like S-words. The plastic used on the Solo HDs feels sturdy and not of the cheapish type found on $20 headphones, though they're more $60 than $230 respectively. And despite being able to rattle like maracas and having a plastic hinge that made me reluctant in folding and unfolding them since they'll wear out very quickly, as a lot of people had proven, everywhere else, it's solid. It has some good flex and does not feel like it's going to break apart every time I stretch them to fit over my head. And unlike the original 2008 Beats Solos, the headband does have more strength and feels more rigid. Though I'm pretty sure if Jim's review room does a stress test on these, they will snap completely. But he also admitted that his tests were very over the top and you shouldn't treat your headphones that way. Though I'm still asking to this day about why. Why do they put aluminium on the headband extension instead of the headband itself? Like why? And the hinges, they should be metal for F-word's sake. But bottom line, they're not built like S-words. They're just not $230 worthy. They're more like 60. Yeah, 60. And now, to the band test. Sorry, we're not gonna do that. Moving on. The comfort of these headphones is actually one of its biggest strengths. They're more comfortable than their future generations. It literally is the most comfortable generation of Solos to this day. And they don't even bother with memory foam. The earpads are decent in thickness, though I wish it was slightly thicker. And they're also not the softest out there, yet still gets the job done. You know, nitpicky stuff. All thanks to the perfect clamping force that these have. They're still a bit on the tighter side, but not to the point of hurting or even fatiguing you. They pinch enough so they won't go off your head, while also providing a good seal. And on the headband, there's this nice rubber silicone strip that keeps the headphones in place. Adam Molina from Sound Guys complained about this rubber piece on the Solo 3s, as they pulled his hair and it gets annoying. But I don't find that here, which is good. There are also no cushioning inside the rubber strip. It literally is just a soft strip of silicone rubber with nothing inside it. But I don't think it needs any, as it is already very comfortable. As for the accessories, these came with quite a bit. Inside the awesome packaging, you get a cable and a soft shell case. The cable is not the best quality as it is plenty stiff and doesn't iron out the kinks even after weeks of usage. But it terminates in a 3.5mm on both ends, which is a gift from the heavens, as searching for a replacement is easy. Nothing like the Mini XLR or 2.5mm madness or other proprietary nonsense that other manufacturers use. The microphone on the control talk system is also very good in quality. In fact, this review is recorded with this very microphone. Sounds good, right? As for the case, it's very well made and very thickly padded. It's also lined with a very soft cotton material inside that will prevent scratching when the headphones are inside it. The footprint is also very small, making it very portable. But I won't be using it all that much, sadly, because the headphones need to be folded to do so, and yeah, the hinges. Right, now to the biggest controversy of them all, the sound. So, do they sound like garbage? Also no. Okay, I get it. Please, sit down, let me explain. They don't sound bad, but they don't sound good either. And bottom line, they don't sound $230. But I can't call this sound garbage. In fact, they sound very fun. And in most scenarios, I actually pick these over the MH30s for listening. And I will explain why by going in depth into the sound. So if you're not interested, you can just click away because this will be quite lengthy. Ready? Let's go. But before we do, let's breeze through the technical specifications first, as Beats does not supply any in the packaging or on their website. But I found a couple of people online who has tested them themselves. So, starting from the frequency range is your average 20 to 20,000 Hz. The driver is 40mm big with an unspecified type of magnets. And the impedance is 16 ohms. And that's about it. So, let's get down to business now. Starting from the bottom, the lows are good despite being quite overemphasized. It's actually not as bad as you think though. Reviewers have said that the lows are boomy and I don't agree fully. Because on tracks like Guns N' Roses' Paradise City, the kick drums are delivered nicely with quick deliveries and also being nicely tight. Same goes for Daft Punk's Fragments of Time. The track stays very clear and coherent and are very enjoyable to listen to. Though they do feel a bit loosened compared to the insanely tight bass of the MH30s. But overall, not bad. Bass is deep, taut, and powerful, with a good rumble which I truly enjoy when I'm listening to Johnny Rain's Oakland Ting and Darkside's Paper Trails. Every punch sounds deep and powerful. Darkside's deep vocals in Paper Trails also sounded incredible with amazing depth and decent extension, thanks to the great sub-bass capabilities that these have, as the sub-bass is actually where these rock. Not really on the lowest end, but it does get boomy because of the sub-bass elevation, and since most of Paper Trail's sound is focused on the low end. The drivers can handle both Darkside's vocals and the powerful bassline together, making for quite a boomy sound, though it's still not as bad as you think it is, just not as coherent and as transparent as I would have wanted to be. And this doesn't really happen with most other music either, that have a more balanced tune, it's just this one. As for the highs and the treble, they're actually pretty good. Listening to Skott's vocals in her track Porcelain gave me chills when she goes up high, which is a good thing. The highs feel unrestrained and quite detailed even. Same goes to the treble, which are great if not awesome. Listening to Trysail's Adrenaline gave me quite a clear picture of the Solo HD's treble capability. This song is usually quite sharp and sibilant as it has a lot of treble-based instruments and it is also tuned to the treble and the high mid section with a lack of lows. But on the Solo HDs, thanks to its darker sound signature, Adrenaline sounds smooth, yet still very detailed. I can pick out individual instruments even when it gets busy, and it gets busy quite a lot. And talking about picking individual instruments, the instrumental separation in the high end is also pretty good. But to truly test this, I picked an even busier track, with a wider range of sound, which has to be Zach's Last Proof. That's ZAQ for those who are interested. This track really brings out the best and or the worst in headphones, and to my surprise, it brings out the best in the Solo HDs. Even when the track goes psycho and both electric guitarists and the drummer went completely mental as their solo came. The Solo HD kept its composure and made sure that the highs stay clear and transparent, resulting in a good amount of instrumental separation, though some clutter can still be heard when compared straight to the MH30s. And granted, the MH30s do a better job in this range thanks to their better imaging capabilities, but the Solo HD can also hold its own torch, and I think that is good enough. Now here comes the downfall. I know that you've all been waiting for this, and here it is. The mids are a complete mess. It's just ruined. Just bad. I actually don't understand how they can ruin the mids this badly. Usually it gets slightly warm or full bodied or masked, but this is straight up muffled. But let me be more specific here. I'm not talking about the entirety of the mids. I'm talking specifically about the low mids. The low mids gets insanely muffled to the point where I can even call it muddy sometimes. The mid-range and the high mids are not as bad, but also not good. They lack detail and gets cluttered very easily. Listening to Franz Schubert's Ave Maria and Johann Strauss II's Frühlingsstimmen just doesn't sound enjoyable. They lack the drama and the immersion that these songs usually bring to me via the MH30's incredible mid-range. But here, all is lost. Same goes to Yudai Sato's Nightbirds. It feels like I'm listening from the backstage and that's not good. The songs sound muffled and lacking in transparency and coherence. I literally can't enjoy these types of music on these. Absolutely horrible mid-range performance. Same goes when I listen to country style music like John Denver's Take Me Home Country Roads, or rock and roll songs like Little Richard's Long Tall Sally. Little Richard completely lost his gritty and texturized vocals, which is sad because that's what made him sound so incredible. Chuck Berry's Route 66 still sounds very groovy, but it really feels like I'm in the 60s with this muffled sound. But on more modern songs like Joji's Sanctuary or Prep's Line by Line, the mids are actually quite good. They're not as muffled sounding as when I listened to Ave Maria. Joji's voice also came through clearly with a nice full-bodied sound. Same goes for Prep, which is something that the MH30 kinda lacked, as it sounds thinner yet more accurate on the MH30. Compared to the MH30s, however, I can still hear that the low mids on the Solo HD muffles. However, it's not as distracting or as annoying as it might seem. It is now apparent that the tuning is set to a more modern style of music, or maybe a more slower style of music. So avoid classical and orchestral music with these, they're just gonna ruin your whole day. They really suit the likes of blues such as B.B. King's 3 O'Clock Blues and lo-fi songs such as Potsu's Just Friends though. These two tracks sound enjoyable on these, I hear no problem. I think now I understand why audiophiles hate these so much. These don't do so well on the more artistic and high-class end of the music world, and also probably doesn't even compare to the mid-range performance of their $80 Grado SR60Es, which I bet they love to death. The soundstage on these are decent. They're a small pair of close-back on-ear headphones. What do you expect? Though they're also not that bad. And yes, soundstage and imaging does exist on these. Don't let any fool tell you otherwise. The Solo HDs actually one-up the MH30s in the soundstage department, as it does sound wider and slightly more open despite also being less coherent. However, in terms of imaging, the Solo HDs outright lost to the MH30s. Listening to Yoshi Horikawa's letter shows that the Solo HDs lack some of the dimension that the MH30 has. However, in its own right, I found the Solo HDs being pretty good. When the track just started and there's not a lot going on, it's pinpoint accurate. But I did notice that as the track gets busier, the imaging lost a bit of its accuracy, though it's still quite accurate overall. I also tried playing online games with these, like CSGO, where I can hear that these do have vertical dimension to their imaging. They're not as accurate as their horizontal dimension. I can hear enemies being above or below me in overpass, which is a big help sometimes when I'm skulking around or pushing into the side. I also fired up a couple of classics from the year that these headphones were launched, like Dishonor, which has an awesome sound engine, and the Solo HDs perform admirably. Granted, the MH30s were better in this field because it sounds clearer, but because it sounds slightly more closed in, and the fact that it's uncomfortable as hell after an hour, I still prefer the Solo HDs instead, which let me know more about how far or how close an enemy is to me. Thanks to a wider soundstage, and because it's also a lot more comfortable. I also fired up another game which has a lot of boom booms in them, like Mad Max, which is still quite one of my favorites and is, in my opinion, underrated. Mad Max sounds awesome on these, the explosions are wild, and the deep rumble of the V8 in the Interceptor is just mouth-watering to a car like me. Clanks of metal as the Interceptor slams into a car in a Warboys convoy is also nice and sharp, and the whole experience is just enjoyable, especially when I finish a combo with a shotgun shell to the guts. Oh yeah. So, bottom line, do these sound bad? No, obviously not. Now I feel kinda guilty for making the words of reviewers my own for a long time and say to a lot of people that Beats are absolute pieces of S-words, because they're not. Despite being someone who prefers mid-range above all else, I still do enjoy these headphones, though not to the extent of everything I listen to. However, I must admit that this sound is not worth $230, and that's probably why a lot of people hated these so much back in the day. It's because they're unreasonably expensive. If these were priced around $60 to $100 back in the day, I think Beats could have a better reputation and their reviews would have been a lot different. And that's it for the review. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video proves to be helpful, informative, or maybe entertaining for you guys. And I'll see you guys in a millennia. Goodbye.